what had happened was that when Andreas sold us to the Daily Mirror, someone called Ian Hargreaves took over. He'd been very successful as head of news at the BBC, and he'd been a head of news, I think, at the Financial Times. And he came in as editor of The Independent, although being a very, very charming and very, very nice man, never really found the right formula to make the paper work. So we were at Canary Wharf for a couple of years with him, and eventually he was moved on, and he was then replaced, almost overnight, rather like one of those sort of Soviet leaders whose sort of effigy is removed from all the buildings overnight and suddenly is a kind of unperson. And he was replaced by Charlie Wilson, who was this legendary figure from the Times and the Daily Mirror, who once edited the Times, who was this sort of pugilistic Scotsman, completely the opposite to the whole independent kind of ethos, who was just a kind of helpful leather, traditional, sleeves rolled up, old newspaper man who just traumatized a lot of people at the Independent. And he was our editor for a little while, but he was only ever there as a temporary figure. And then Andrew Marr, who had been the chief political correspondent, was considered to be the kind of heir apparent. And Andrew Marr came in to edit the paper. And he had been a political correspondent. He'd been a political writer for the paper, a comment writer for some time. But because he was considered to be an extremely good talent, he was given the kind of reins of the whole operation. And that it was an object lesson in not making your best field operative, the head of the army. It was Andy was later described as a brilliant first violinist, not the conductor of the orchestra. And I think that is absolutely true. He's a brilliant individual journalist who's gone on to do many good things, but he's a solo act. He's not a manager of a newspaper, and being a manager of a newspaper calls for a very different skill set. And so you have to think about design, you have to think about production, you have to think about every bit of the paper. You can't be just focused on politics. You have to know about arts, culture, sport, fashion, all the different areas. And Andy never quite got a grip on that. And although extremely nice man, I worked very happily with him for many years. But he got into trouble quite quickly, and so Andy didn't last, and there was then something of a coup, and Rosie Boycott, who had been editing the Sunday paper, was brought in as editor of both the daily and Sunday papers. So we were now onto our kind of fourth editor in about 3 years. And editors are there to give stability to newspapers. They're not like football managers. It's not like a few results over, and you're out. They need to be their continuity. Staff look up to newspapers. They're quite hierarchical organizations. And so this kind of changeover was very unsettling. It was also accompanied by several periods of redundancy. We shed a lot of staff. We'd expanded quite a lot during the kind of the boom years of the mid-90s. And the reality had set back, and we had to shed quite a few staff during that period. And by this time I was on the news desk, and so we were having to manage quite a traumatized staff. And we saw editors coming and going. There was great uncertainty about our ownership. And this went on from about 94 right through until late 97, early 98.